We're recording. Okay. Hello, welcome in. Today I am hosting the workshop to teach scapegoats the skills and strategies necessary to survive living with a narcissistic abuser. All right. What I'll do now is pull up the slideshow. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Mariam. I'm a narcissistic abuse and family systems consultant. I am a survivor of 24 years of covert narcissistic abuse. And in my life, my abuser was my mother. Okay. So now I've turned my pain into purpose, and I am teaching the skills and strategies that have helped me stay grounded in my truth and in my identity, which is crucial for all survivors to understand and to master. Okay. Let me share my screen. Hello, welcome in TikTok, welcome in TikTok. If you'd like to join the live Zoom, you can do that through the link in my bio, okay? And I'm looking I have two different screens right here. So if you see me looking two different ways, that's why. Okay, thank you for the likes. Thank you. Hello, welcome in, welcome in. All right, so let me share my screen here on Zoom. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'll do this. Wonderful. All right, awesome. I guess this works. I suppose that works. I want to make sure you guys can see the screen. That's why I'm trying to edit it right here. Okay, that looks good to me. All right. All right. This is a workshop, masterclass. Let's go. Okay. The scapegoat rule, minimizing risk to narcissistic abuse. And this approach is a psychological harm reduction workshop for family scapegoats. Okay. It's a psychological harm reduction workshop. Harm reduction, those are the key terms. Okay. We're not here to change the narcissist, change the dynamic, change the reality. We're here to change your reality and how you experience it, because you are the victim and you need to survive this. We're learning skills and strategies. Okay. That's what we're primarily focused on. All right. The work I do, I am a narcissistic abuse and family systems consultant. As I mentioned earlier, I am a survivor of 24 years of covert narcissistic abuse, and I specialize in scapegoat psychology and harm reduction because I have firsthand experience with these things. I teach strategy, emotional regulation, and self-protection. Because to protect yourself, you have to first understand the system that you're in. What you can expect from this workshop. So this workshop is not the workshop for you if you're looking to confront the abuser, otherwise known as the narcissist. If you're here to fix the family, this is not the workshop for you, and this workshop is not gonna help you with being emotionally cathartic without strategy. Because when you're dealing with an abuser, you have to be strategic, and strategy is key to self-preservation and self-protection. Okay, but what this workshop is going to do for you, it's going to train you on psychological harm reduction. You're going to get a clear education on narcissistic family systems, and you'll be provided with strategic tools to minimize ongoing abuse, especially if you still live with your abuser. Okay. Now, I've always stated this, that being ignorant to your situation can further perpetuate abuse. Okay, being ignorant to your situation can further perpetuate abuse. I'm going to say that again. Being ignorant to your situation can further perpetuate abuse. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when you are the black sheep or the scapegoat of your family, you feel so wronged all of the time. You feel unjustified all of the time. In the sense that, like, you're not getting the justice you deserve. That's what I mean by unjustified. You feel unheard all the time, invalidated, you feel dismissed and gaslit, right? Because you're trying to fight against a system that was built to tear you down. And so when you continue to fight against this system without being conscientious of the system that you're in, you risk further perpetuating the abuse. And we don't want that. We don't want that, okay? The reason why ignorance in this situation is dangerous is because it keeps you vulnerable to repeated gaslighting. Who's in here? Let's see. It leads to self-betrayal. Hello, welcome in. I'm glad you could join. I'm so glad. I'm so glad you made it in. And we are recording, just so you do know. Ignorance is dangerous because it keeps you vulnerable to repeated gaslighting. It leads to self-betrayal and internalized doubt because you have internalized all of the gaslighting that you've received your whole life. You begin to believe that you genuinely are the problem, and that's a dangerous place to be in. And it also quietly exposes you to continued harm. It exposes you to continuous harm because you have failed to learn the system that you're in and you have not yet mastered your role as the scapegoat. But that's fine because that's why you're here in this workshop, okay? So let's move forward. Now, understanding your role removes you from the emotional center of the abuse. This is the like the center. This is the core of the work I do. It's about teaching you, educating you on your role, how to play your role strategically to minimize the abuse and to minimize perpetuating further abuse. Okay. Now let's define the abuse clearly without minimizing. Covert narcissistic abuse. What does covert mean? Covert means something is done under the table. It's done in a sly, subtle way. It's done in a manner that is not obvious to the eye at first glance. You genuinely have to have the skill of picking up on it, reading between the lines, and being able to acknowledge the pattern and the cycle. Okay? It relies on manipulation rather than overt aggression, which is why it can be hard to identify it right off the bat. Okay, that's why your first reactions to the covert abuse is oftentimes confusion. You feel dismissed. You'll have all these feelings that there's something wrong and you feel that no one is hearing you or listening, and no one is there to see it. No one is there to see how you're provoked. That is what makes it covert. The common tactics that covert narcissists use is gaslighting. Gaslighting is like when they say, no, 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 that's not how it happened. No, 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 you're remembering that totally wrong. That is not how that happened. Minimization is when you come to a person that hurts you, for example, right? Any healthy relationship, you come to an individual, you discuss how something that occurred hurts your feelings based off of the way you received it, right? Because it's not about what you say, it's often how you say it. Minimization is dismissing and making your feelings smaller. Nah, it's not like, for example, nah, it's not that big of a deal. Similar to gaslighting. Nah, it's not that big of a deal. No, it's not that serious. It's not that serious. Or no, you're remembering that wrong. That goes into denial. They will deny what happened. They will project. Oftentimes, abusers will confess through accusation. Why did you do this? Did you do that? And it's actually confession. Or they will triangulate you in family systems and family dynamics. You may experience triangulation, especially if you are the scapegoat, especially if you are the black sheep of the family. You will be triangulated against, okay? And we'll touch on this more and later on. And another common tactic the abuser uses is playing the victim or hero. Um, why is it damaging to scapegoats? Number one, because it's done covertly. It's a psychological abusive tactic. It's an abusive psychological tactic. Because of all those tactics we discussed, because of the gaslighting, the triangulation, the isolation, the ostracization, it trains you to doubt yourself. It erodes your identity over time because you spend so much time trying to convince others of your reality that because no one hears you or listens, you begin to gaslight yourself. You begin to minimize your feelings yourself. And just because the abuse might seem subtle, it doesn't mean that the impact is not. So how do you know when this is actually happening to you? You can identify covert narcissism through a couple of strategies. As we mentioned earlier, when you try to have a conversation with someone that hurts you, what the covert narcissist will do is throw at you word jumbles and words to confuse you, leading to emotional confusion. You will likely feel unheard, dismissed, or blamed. And somehow the conversation ends up with you apologizing when you came to reconcile and discuss something that hurt your feelings. How did you end up being the one to apologize? It's because the abuser will blame you for having these reactions. That's an example, right? They will blame you. Why are you acting like this? Like, how dare you come at me disrespectfully? Especially in family dynamics, when you try to like advocate for yourself, you will be gaslit, you will be minimized, and you will be pushed away. And then they'll have you apologizing. It's toxic. It's a toxic situation. Accountability is constantly redirected away from the narcissist. I have firsthand experience with that one, y'all. I know what that's like. There are cycles of emotional highs and lows where sometimes it's good and it's really good. It feels really good and fulfilling and wholesome and loving. But when it's low, it's really low. You feel so degraded. You feel so uncared for. You feel unheard, invalidated, disregarded, dismissed, and discarded. And that is the cycle of the narcissistic abuse cycle, y'all. That's how it goes. Whether it's with a boyfriend, girlfriend, or a relative. But in this particular workshop, we're speaking on behalf of the scapegoat experience. Okay. And as I mentioned right here, you do gaslight yourself. You end up gaslighting yourself to make the relationship make sense. And that's the dangers of remaining in a narcissistic abusive relationship where you're just in a place so desperate for connection and love that you're willing to settle for breadcrumbs. You're willing to settle. You're willing to gaslight your truth. You're willing to disregard your true feelings, your true reactions, just to keep some sense of stability, a sense of stability within the relationship. But any relationship that requires you to tolerate hurtful behavior is not a healthy relationship. Okay. And if you're constantly questioning yourself, the manipulation is already working. Now, recognizing the pattern, family roles. And let me see. Okay, so Gerda, if you have any questions or if you need any clarification, please feel free to leave it in the chat. I am checking every few minutes. There will be an opportunity at the end for hot seat coaching if you would like to take that opportunity up, okay? All right. Recognizing the pattern, family roles. The roles in dysfunctional families are assigned, they're not chosen, and they're often maintained through punishment and reinforcement. So in a family system, you'll have like the narcissist, the golden child, lost child, and the scapegoat. The way these roles are assigned is all dependent upon the needs of the narcissist. What does the narcissist needs, and what person, for example, what child, in my case, right, the children, which child will provide me with what I need? Which one gives it to me the easiest? Which one doesn't put up a fight? These roles are assigned silently, okay? Your mom or dad, the narcissist, whoever the ringleader is, the family leader is, the narcissist, they're not going to come and tell you, hey, you're the scapegoat. Hey, you're the lost child. No, it's up to you to identify your role. It's up to you to identify that dynamic. It's up to you to wake up to it because no one's going to tell you. You have to be aware of the dynamic. But in order to do that, you have to stop gaslighting yourself. You have to stop gaslighting yourself. And you have to start being aware, genuinely, like see it for what it is. Look at the facts, not the feelings. Look at the facts. Look at the evidence. That is how you stop gaslighting yourself. That is how you stop invalidating yourself as well. You are responsible for saving yourself in this kind of situation. You are. As the scapegoat or the black sheep, you are responsible for stepping out of the game. But in order to step out of the game, you have to first understand and recognize that you're in a game, you're in a system. There's a system here. There's a pattern here. Wake up, become aware, master your role, and step out. Now, the scapegoat's function is to absorb all of the blame. The scapegoat will often carry all of this projected shame of the whole family, right? It's easy to just blame a person for everything rather than any individual, rather than the family members taking responsibility for certain things or accountability for things, right? Shifting the blame is much easier than accountability for abusers and for toxic people. Shifting the blame, I'm gonna say that again. I'm gonna write that down actually. I'm gonna write that down. Shifting the blame. Uh-oh. Technical difficulties. Okay. Like I said, shifting the blame is much easier than the narcissist, for example, taking accountability. You can just never expect that. One of the things you need to do is stop expecting the narcissist to ever take accountability. That's why it's so important for you to understand your role as the scapegoat, as the black sheep, and become aware of the system you're in. This is what you're learning here. You're learning the dynamics of the system you're in so that you can learn how to detach from it. So what I said earlier was shifting the blame is much easier than accountability, okay? And that's one of the things you have to learn and understand. You should never expect any narcissist to take any accountability for anything. You continue your suffering. You further perpetuate your suffering when you continue to expect the abuser to take any sort of accountability because it's like you're waiting for a miracle that will never happen. You have to learn how to accept it and move forward. It's sad. It's sad. I understand it's sad. It's hurtful. We want justice. But with narcissists, you don't get justice. And that's something you have to be willing to surrender to for your own peace of mind. Now, here's a perspective shift for you. You were not failing the family. The family functioned through you. Through you. By having you to blame. By having you to point the finger at. That is how the family functioned through you because you held it down by being the one that bared the burden of being blamed for things. It's a toxic cycle. It's toxic, okay? This role carries long-term risks that often go unseen. This is why I'm here teaching in this workshop how to master your role as the scapegoat so that you can finally free yourself from this cycle of abuse. because the dynamic has no power if you don't give it power. The dynamic can only exist if you're there giving it power to exist. The dynamic can only exist if you are there to give it the power to exist. What you're going to learn by the end of this workshop is that you're going to have to be mute. You're going to have to mute yourself, your reactions, your triggers. You're going to have to master emotional regulation. You're going to have to master yourself, master your mind. You're going to have to go against your initial instinct, your initial reflexes to react to the abuse. You're going to have to go against your initial reaction, your reflex, your instinct to defend yourself. Because if you are wronged, it's understandable you want to defend yourself because you're being wrongfully accused. It 100% makes sense and it's 100% valid. But in a toxic family system like this, in a dysfunctional family such as this, in a narcissistic family such as this, there is no such thing as justice nor accountability. You will always have the role of the scapegoat and the black sheep. You will always be blamed. That is the reality of the situation. Okay? That is the reality. The sooner you accept it, the sooner it gets easier for you. The sooner you accept it, the sooner it gets easier. The sooner you can move forward and onward with your life. Let me make sure that you can still see me well. Okay, good. Now, some of the risks that scapegoats and black sheeps hold to themselves. This is crucial. This is a very, very important part. Now, because you've been conditioned and traumatized chronically, long-term abuse, you probably have CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, due to the ongoing and chronic abuse that never ended, especially if you're continuing to live with this abuser, okay? So through trauma and abuse and emotional neglect, the black sheep learns to gaslight their true feelings and needs because they were conditioned to remain small and unheard. What does this lead to? This leads to the scapegoat unconsciously seeking relationships in adulthood that mirror their upbringing. Unstable, hot and cold, there's emotional neglect. You are dismissed. It is abusive, whether it is emotionally abusive, psychologically abusive, physically. These are the risks of not becoming aware of your situation and how to master your role as the scapegoat. You unconsciously attract individuals that replicate your childhood dynamic. The way you were dismissed, the way you were unheard, the way you were blamed and projected upon. That is the risk of not detaching from the family dynamic and not recognizing that you've been placed in this role. Now, the solution is to validate your feelings. You have to become your own parent. You have to learn how to reparent yourself. You have to validate your own feelings, no matter how big or small. And you have to become aware of that inner critic that shames you, for example, for having these feelings. You have to become aware of the inner voice that shuts you down. You have to learn how to comfort yourself like you would a child. You have to reparent your inner child, and you have to show yourself radical compassion and radical grace. You owe that to yourself. If you've been abused your whole life, you've been dismissed your whole life, you owe it to yourself to save yourself, to honor yourself, and to hold yourself to high standards and hold strong boundaries. These things are learned the hard way oftentimes. When we get hurt in relationships, we often ask why. Well, then I'd have to ask you, what is it about the relationship that kept you there? And why did you stay despite the disrespect? right? Despite the disrespect and despite the abuse. Why? Because traumatized individuals are conditioned to endure. Survivors are conditioned to endure pain chronically, long term, because it's become regular to their nervous system. It becomes familiar that we're not able to consciously realize this is not healthy. Although it is familiar, it is not healthy. Although this dynamic is familiar, it is unhealthy. We often give too many chances to people that hurt us over and over and over again and disrespect us over and over and over again. It becomes normalized to us, to the survivors, to victims, until we choose otherwise. Despite the comfort it brings us, we choose to raise our standards and to begin attracting opportunities and relationships that are good for us, that are healthy for us. But you can only do this by becoming aware and being honest and truthful with yourself. You have to be conscious of how and when you gaslight yourself, especially through adulthood. You gaslight yourself when it sounds like, oh, I'm just making it a big deal. It's not that big of a deal. I know. I'm just sensitive. I'm just sensitive. I don't really know I don't even know what I'm talking about. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Never mind. Forget it. Like, why are you taking the power away from yourself? Why are we taking the power away from ourselves? Donna, that's a good question. I'm gonna write it down so I can answer it later on in this live. Okay, we do have opportunities for questions later. Thank you so much. Thank you for the gifts. You're so kind. Thank you. I'm gonna write this question down so I can answer it at the end. All right. I will answer that near the end because there is this opportunity for questions to be answered at the end, Donna, okay? Gotta remember that. It's a really good question, a really good question. Thank you so much for the roses, Donna. All right. All right. The number one thing that survivors must watch out for, the number one thing is internalizing all of the false narratives that were spoken to you and about you through childhood, throughout childhood. Internalizing the abuse, it manifests into neglecting of yourself, neglecting yourself, whether that is hygienically, mentally, socially. When you internalize the abuse you endured, you further perpetuate abuse upon yourself. That is a scary place to be in because it means you've completely identified with the false narratives and with the abuse. It means you've become enmeshed. It means the narcissist won. It means the abuser won. The only way to take your power back is by denying those false narratives that you have of yourself because they didn't even come from you. They were spoken to you. They were speaking negatively to you. Rather than speaking life into you, your abuser spoke the opposite to you. They killed your spirit. They dismantled your spirit. Okay, that's why a lot of survivors and trauma survivors, you learn to internalize the abuse, and that includes speaking down on yourself. When you call yourself ugly, when you look in the mirror and you hate what you see, when you hate your own voice, you are killing your own spirit. You then become your own abuser if you don't detach from this dynamic, if you don't realize that all of these false narratives were false. It is up to you to pick them apart and throw those false narratives that you have of yourself away and rebuild yourself with truth and confidence and alignment. You have to recognize that these false statements of yourself, it is not your own voice. It is not your own voice saying those things. It's your haters, your abusers, the enablers, people that tore you apart. That is their voice. that you've accidentally internalized because you haven't yet done the work to dismantle it and deny it and reframe it. And you haven't yet reparented your inner child. You haven't yet learned to love what you see in the mirror, and you do that through intention and action consistently. Okay? Another thing that internalizing the abuse manifests into is you will sabotage aligned opportunities because you haven't acknowledged your true worthiness. Okay? You miss out on so much when you have a misaligned self-concept. When you have a misaligned self-concept, a self-concept that is still like that that is reflective of the abuse you endured, when you have a low self-esteem, and you haven't done the work to build your self-esteem and pour life back into yourself, you will end up sabotaging opportunities, relationships, your career, because deep inside you're still holding on to the idea that you are unworthy. Okay? Be careful. Now, we already touched on it a little bit, but I will further discuss the risks. You are in the danger zone if, as a scapegoat or black sheep, you find yourself trying to defend yourself to family, if you find yourself arguing your point of view, trying to reason, if you expect the narcissist to understand you or change their ways or find empathy for you, setting boundaries that aren't respected, and becoming reactive to the narcissist's provocations. Be careful. That is when you are in the danger zone. And this is where I see many scapegoats stuck in. They're trying to reason with their families still. They're trying to reason their point of view. They're trying to reason, defend themselves. And you are just giving out, you are just pouring energy out into nothing. You're just throwing. You're talking to a brick wall. You're speaking to a brick wall, no matter who you're talking to, whether it's the golden child, the lost child, the narcissist. None of them will hear you. None of them hear you. At least in my experience, none of them heard me. I learned that the safest way to protect myself is to keep my truth to myself and to redirect all of that energy back into myself, pouring back into myself, loving myself, identifying what looked good on me, how to style myself that complemented my figure, right? Because the point is that you are rebuilding this identity that you've lost because you've become so enmeshed with the abuser, with the toxic family dynamic. You've become so obsessed with trying to be the person that will finally be loved and accepted and welcomed in this family. You never will be. You will never be. You will never receive that if your family is this dysfunctional narcissistic family. You will never receive it. Scapegoats and black sheep often spend so much of their lives early on trying to be perfect, trying to be great, trying to be good enough. They spend so much of their time trying to be good enough. And so we pour and pour and pour into others, confused as to why we still have not been loved and welcomed and embraced. Because it was never going to happen. You've already been assigned the role of scapegoat and black sheep. You've already been assigned that role, like subliminally. And it's heartbreaking. I understand. I know it's heartbreaking. I know it is. But it is so liberating to finally accept the truth, see the truth for what it is. This is why so many scapegoats and black sheep get stuck defending themselves, trying to argue their point because they think that their family is reasonable people. They're not. Maybe they are to others, but not to you. Let go. Just let go. Let go. Let it go. They aren't willing. They're not capable of taking it on. Maybe some of them are aware that the narcissist is the problem, but they don't have the power or the will or the courage to stand against it. It's much easier to fall in line. Okay, it's much easier to just fall in line. It is disheartening, I understand, but you are wasting your life energy, your life force, when you spend any more of your time defending yourself, trying to reason, setting boundaries that aren't respected. The only strategy is to master your emotions, master your reactions, learn to expect and predict the narcissist to provoke you. Expect to be gaslit. Expect to be pushed aside and disregarded and dismissed. And stop expecting any reasoning on behalf of the narcissist because they are incapable of it. They are incapable of reasoning. They are deluded. They live in a fantasy world. You really think you have any chance against pulling someone out of their own delusion? Do you? No. You don't stand a chance. You don't stand a chance pulling anyone out of their own delusion, out of their own fantasy, out of their own world where they think that they are the victim, the survivor. Like these narcissists are very good at painting a picture that is untrue and that is exaggerated. It's to fit the narrative that they wish to see of themselves. That is the truth. Okay, and there's no way you're fighting against a deluded individual. Okay, and maybe it's true. Maybe they do have childhood trauma. I understand that. I completely understand. But we are all responsible for our own healing. We are all responsible for our own healing so as to not cause more harm to others, to those that we love. The narcissists are selfish people. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care about anyone but themselves. Okay? And they prove it to you through their actions and through their behavior. It's proven, okay? I'm not just pulling this information out of nowhere, out of the air. If you learn to observe the individual and their behaviors and their actions, you recognize those behaviors as inconsiderate of other people's feelings and selfish. Okay? Now, being selfish every now and then for your own sake, for your own self-preservation is necessary. That's what a healthy ego does. But a narcissist, on the other hand, prioritizes themselves and themselves only over everything, despite being spoken to, despite being, having requests for peace and compromise. They disregard it, and it's just impossible. It's genuinely impossible to get through to a narcissist. So this is why you have to call back that power back to yourself. Call it back to yourself and learn to redirect into things and areas that actually matter and do create a change. Okay? So the only way to truly disarm a narcissist is to master your own emotions so as to not react to their provocations, because they are excellent at poking your buttons and getting you to react. That is what they're skilled at. And there's a principle right here that I wrote. I just want to see how I can. Uh-oh, what did I do? Right here. There we go. Good. Okay, the principle is your reactions and emotions is their fuel and life force. Thank you. This is what you need to learn as the scapegoat or black sheep. Your reactions and emotions is their fuel and life force. This is why you have to learn how to master your emotions, master your reactions, because trust me, I know how provoking they can be. I know how provoking they can be, and they know how to provoke you because you've taught them. You've taught them what your triggers are based off of the level and how big your emotions are. And if you have a strong sense of justice, your emotions will be big to oppression and injustice and unfairness. 100%. That is what happens. And that's okay. But you realize it's ineffective. So this is when you have to learn to wrap it up, wrap it up. You're getting nowhere. You're not talking to a rational or reasonable person. You're talking to a deluded individual. Wrap it up, wrap it up, wrap it up. Use that. Read that. Put that energy somewhere else. Put that energy back into yourself. Master your emotions. Become stoic. Become solid. And we're human. I understand. We're human. We snap. We can only handle so much. So give yourself grace and compassion if you do end up snapping. But it gets easier over time. Okay? Practice it, practice it, practice it, practice it. So for those of you still living with your abuser, practice it. I want you, after this workshop, I want you to leave your room or leave wherever you're at, go back home and learn to predict and expect your abuser to provoke you. When something is provoking you, you have to be able to recognize that you're provoked and you're triggered and you're about to react. You have to become conscientious of that. You have to be mindful of that. That's the only way you can step out of this game and stop giving power to the dynamic, the dysfunctional family dynamic. This is how you stop giving it power. If you don't give it power, it doesn't really exist. They don't have power over you. If you don't give it power, if you don't give it your time or energy or attention, because that is the only way the cycle continues, is if you continue to give it your time, energy, reactions, emotions. I mean, come on, once you realize that all of this is being done strategically, you just it's comedic. It becomes comedic. Like, oh, I can influence this dynamic. I can influence some of this. Cool. Let me take advantage of that. Exactly. Mike said a kite won't fly unless it has wind, and take the wind away, you'll be free. Exactly. Donna, these narcissists will do that. They will push you to your breaking point because they love it. They are sadistic people. Sadistic people. They thrive off of seeing people in pain. They thrive off of people's emotions. You're human. This is why you react that way. You're human. Yeah, no, listen, the narcissist will do things, and I'm glad you said that, Donna, because you brought up a good point. The narcissist will say things in very subtle manners. That is the key of covert narcissistic abuse. That is one of the keys, is when they say or do things in subtle manners. But the fact that they're doing it in subtle or a neutral manner is their way of defending themselves. It's a measure, it's a method of self-protection. Because when something provoked you that they did, but they did it in an innocent tone or an innocent manner, they have the opportunity to be like, no, that's you. What do you mean? They turn the tables on you when it's clearly said to provoke you, because they have the knowledge that something that, whatever the subject was going to provoke you. They're very smart people. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Like Donna, like when you said they do it under the guise of being nice, that is covert narcissistic abuse. Because to everyone else, they see the nice act, they see the innocent act, but they don't see what was said. They don't see the way it provoked you because they're not aware. They don't have the knowledge. They don't have the context. Yep, that's why we're here. And if you guys want to join the Zoom live, go to the link in bio and click the workshop. It'll sign up for it. It'll send you the link to join. And because I'm on here on Zoom as well, I'm recording too. So the only way to truly disarm a narcissist is to master your own emotions so as to not react to their provocations, because they're excellent at poking your buttons and getting you to react. Same way you said, Donna. They're very great at putting a facade of being innocent, of being the nice one. And they're very good at painting the picture through your reactions that you're clearly the unstable one because of your reactions to their abuse. Thank you so much. Thank you for the roses. Okay, moving forward. Okay, this is where it gets serious. This is how you protect yourself as the black sheep or as the scapegoat that's still living with the abuser. This is how you protect yourself, y'all. You have to understand, number one, the narcissist will never understand you. The narcissist will never understand you. The narcissist will never empathize with you unless it is to manipulate you. The narcissist will never magically become a fair, caring, and loving person unless it is to manipulate you. Okay? Throw it away. Throw it away. Throw that idea away. My abuser is my own mom. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I'm her daughter. She has to have some sort of love and empathy for me, right? No, 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 no. You thought, I thought, until I woke up. I really did think that like a mother would have love and compassion for her child. But no, there are sick people out there. There are deluded individuals out there, traumatized. It doesn't matter. There are abusive people out there, and it can be your own mother. And it's disheartening to accept and grieve, but it's necessary for your own survival and your own healing. Okay. The only way to find peace, the only way to make peace is to detach from the idea of you having a true family. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Detach from the idea of you having a true family. You have to grieve that truth. You have to grieve it. Give your time, give yourself time to grieve and mourn it. Because I grieved it. I promise you that. When I finally woke up to the truth, I was shattered. There's still a part of me that's shattered. There's still a part of me that grieves the family I'll never have. The family I was born into is not the family that is mine, that is here to embrace me. My own family does not embrace me, and I understand. I understand how heartbreaking it is. I understand. Yes, Mike, get yourself a dog if you want unconditional love, because learn to expect that the narcissist, learn to expect the narcissist to provoke you. You have to learn to expect it. That's part of their nature to provoke you. It's how they get their fuel. When they're when they're feeling short on a sense of power and control, they're going to seek you out. They're going to seek you out to destabilize you because your destabilization is their stability. It gives them that sense of that reminder that, oh, I do still have control and power. Got it. Cool. Good, 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 good. You have to master your emotions. You have to, you will be triggered. You will be triggered because your abuser knows you best, right? Your abuser knows you best. Love yourself unconditionally and reparent your inner child, my loves. Love yourself unconditionally and reparent your inner child. I want you to listen to all of those negative things you say about yourself, all of the limiting beliefs you have about yourself, and recognize, come to awareness that those are not your own words. Those are not your own voice. That is not your own voice. That is the voice of your abusers, of your enablers. I'm hosting a workshop that's live and recording. So I'm not, TikTok is not what I'm paying attention to. I'm paying attention to my Zoom and the comments in the Zoom, okay? If you have questions, save it for last or come join the Zoom through the link in my bio. Love yourself unconditionally and reparent your inner child. Validate your own self and your own reality. Now, for a lot of us scapegoats and black sheep, okay, we spend so much time and energy just waiting to be heard, waiting, and spending so much time and energy trying to convince our family of our reality, our truth. We spend so much time doing that. And that's actually self-sabotage. We're actually sabotaging ourselves. And by doing that, we are further perpetuating the abuse. That package you're talking about, closed chapters, is for a 1 hour session to talk with me to get a strategy for your own situation regarding your whatever it is. Read the landing page. Okay. Amen, Donna. Thank you, Donna. And I also have a background in psychology. I've studied psychology in college. Those are my credentials. Thank you for asking. That's a very valid question. Very valid question. And I also self-educate regularly and I do research regularly. Those are my credentials. Thank you for asking. Okay. So you want to validate your own self and your own reality, and you have to let go of wanting your family to understand your point of view because that will never happen. I'm sorry. That will never happen. Okay. Let me know, it will never happen. So to wrap it up, the only way to master your role as a scapegoat and to minimize further perpetuating the abuse is to understand that you may never be validated. Your story will never be acknowledged by your abusers, and learning to accept that and redirecting that energy to yourself. Validating yourself, validating your truth. And if you still live with your abuser, you have to expect them to provoke you. You have to learn to not engage. Remove eye contact if you can. Reduce eye contact, reduce engaging with the narcissist as much as you can. Reduce exposure to them, limit your exposure to them. Learn to respond in very neutral tones. You don't want to react with any emotional tone in your voice as much as you can. You don't want to give them any fuel. You don't want to give them any fuel. You don't want to give them any fuel. Okay. So now, y'all, any questions? Because now we have the opportunity. Let me see who we have here. Gerda Maria. This is an opportunity. If you would like to hop on, you can unmute if you have a particular situation that you need some guidance and clarity for. Or if you have any questions, clarifying questions that you need, this is the opportunity for you. Okay. I'll give it a few minutes and then I'll also answer the question that Donna asked earlier. So Donna asked, how do we stop feeling bad about having boundaries and stop feeling bad about what we see in them? Is Donna still in here? Okay, awesome. Okay, yeah, Donna. So you asked, how do we stop feeling bad about having boundaries and stop feeling bad about what we see in them? So the boundaries, just remember those boundaries are for you. We don't set boundaries for the person to change. We set boundaries for us to honor ourselves. For example, a boundary would sound like if you continue to talk to me, if you continue to yell at me, I'm walking away from this conversation. I'm willing to have this conversation, but not if you're yelling. Okay. And then if they continue yelling, that's when you walk away because you're honoring yourself. And if you feel bad, that's that trauma bond. You only feel bad because you're trauma bonded, because you've been conditioned and trained to feel bad for them and to serve them and to cater to them. That's likely why you feel bad. And I understand what it's like to feel bad for our own abusers. I understand. I promise I do. We feel bad. We want to save them. We want to give them another chance. But they're competent individuals. They're competent adults. They know what's going on. They know what they're doing. You've already communicated that what is going on is hurting you. And if they cared, any person that truly cares about your well-being would stop. Donna, the fact that they called you sick and disgusting for holding a boundary of space and you no contacted for a month and you were called sick and disgusting, that is to be expected. I know it hurts, but it's also to be expected by these people. So it's almost like once you understand the system, it becomes easier to detach your emotions from it. It becomes easier to detach like from the emotional aspect of it. It becomes like it's not personal anymore. You realize it's no longer personal. It's not about you. This person is simply angry that they don't have the control and power they had once. They're angry not at you, but at the shift of energy, at the shift of them not having that sense of control and power over you anymore. That's what they're angry about. My problem, Gerda, okay, wait, Donna says, my problem is that take, I gotta do a puzzle, one moment. My problem is that I take what they say and I take it in and I internally attack myself. Donna, that's what you're gonna have to learn to stop doing. You're gonna have to stop doing that. You have to redirect those thoughts that take you there because those aren't your thoughts. It's not you taking yourself there. It's been conditioned into you to take yourself there so that you feel bad for having a backbone. You've been conditioned to not have a backbone. And so when you finally do, because you need to preserve yourself and your life force, when you finally have some self-respect, they get mad. But you need self-respect to attract healthy relationships. Donna, I know it's probably because you still have compassion for these people. And you still find something in them and you still love them maybe, or maybe you still want love from them, so you feel bad for holding boundaries. But you have to remember, like, you have to remember why, like, ask yourself, how did you end up here? You got to ask yourself, how did I end up in a place where I had to set a boundary? Donna, you know how to stop having empathy for others more than yourself. You genuinely have to be real with yourself. You got to snap yourself out of it. Be like, this is actually hurting me. Donna, you got to talk to yourself. You got to coach yourself out of it. This does not feel right. Right? You are not obligated to strip yourself down to the bone to keep another person together. That is not a healthy relationship. And if you're stuck in a relationship like that, that person doesn't truly honor you or yourself or your soul. They're only interested in what you can do for them. And that's a dangerous place to be in. And you better walk away fast. You better walk away fast. Gerda, are you still in here? Are you still in here, Gerda? Okay. Good afternoon. Now, what is after this? If you've been here for the majority of the workshop, what is after this? You've sat through it all. You've learned what you needed to learn. You know that how to disarm a narcissist is to master your own emotions and gray wall them. Master your emotions. You have to learn how to expect them. You have to be 10 steps ahead of them, ahead of the narcissist. Predict it. Stop letting them provoke you. And you're so welcome, Donna. Listen, I want to finish off with this. Insight without support can re-traumatize you, okay? Insight without support can re-traumatize you. Strategy must be personalized to your family system, which is why I'm offering my private one-to-one support sessions, which include customized harm reduction strategies, guidance implementing detachment safely, identity reconstruction after scapegoating, and support disengaging without backlash. But I feel that the greatest benefit you get from booking a one-to-one with me is not just the tangible things you get out of it. That is, of course, that is a great portion of it. But I feel that the most healing aspect of it, the most transformative aspect of it, the most transformative aspect of these one-to-ones is that you get to speak to someone that genuinely understands where you're coming from. And that is me. I have 24 years of surviving covert narcissistic abuse and a dysfunctional family system. I understand it through and through. And I'm here on the other side to guide you through it as well. I understand the highs and the lows. I understand the things we tell ourselves, the way we guilt trip ourselves. That is what you get from working with me one-to-one. You get the privilege and the opportunity to finally be heard by someone that truly understands. Now, how often do we get that opportunity to speak to someone that truly understands? How often do we have that opportunity presented to us? In my experience, I never did. In my experience, I was silent until I finally woke up and spoke out. It is a completely isolating and debilitating experience, but it doesn't have to be anymore. So if you're serious about exiting the role and not just understanding it, you can feel free to book a one-on-one session with me through my link in bio. Thank you all for being here and being present. I want to give y'all some time to send in any last questions you have, concerns, before we wrap it up. Thank you for participating and engaging. Of course, Donna. Thank you for being here yourself. Thank you. And if you feel that you still need more personalized support that is unique to your situation, you can reach out to me privately, or you can simply book a session with me. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see. I'm looking back to see if I missed any questions up here. Yeah, okay, let's see. Experience is the greatest teacher. I do agree. Don't forget. Same way you guys wrap it up on a. Yes. Mike said the same way you got to wrap it up when a narcissist tries to engage. Exactly. Listen, if you've identified a person as a narcissist and they come to try and talk to you, you listen. You better have it in your mind that this person is about to manipulate me. This person is going to try really hard to manipulate me. They're trying real hard. I know they are. You have to know it because they know your weaknesses. They've steadied you. They've steadied you already. They know you. They know your weaknesses. They know through and through. So you can expect any narcissist that is coming to talk to you is here to manipulate you and will you back in. Okay, y'all. That's all for me. Thank you for joining me today on this workshop. Book your one-to-one in the link in bio. Okay, get personalized support with someone that has experienced it firsthand and not just studied it. Okay. That's all, y'all. Thank you so much. Thank you, Gerda, for joining in this Zoom. And I hope to see you in one of our sessions. Have a good rest of your day, your evening, and we will talk again soon. One more thing, go on to the link in bio and subscribe to the newsletter because I have just started a newsletter for Scapegoats. It's perfect. It's a great community, y'all. Okay. Talk to you then.